Trentino, nestled in the Alps, welcomes each and every guest with a glass of Bollincine Da Montagna, translated as mountain bubbles, but officially known as Trentodoc, their splendid sparkling wine. But what else is there to drink in this gorgeous northern region of Italy? I'm Susan Schwartz, your drinking companion, and this is Lush Life Podcast. Every week we are inspired to live life one cocktail at a time by the best in the industry. Today we get to meet a few people who are making the drinks that Trentino is famous for, and some that were a surprise. Matteo Covazzi from Mezzacorona, the second largest producer of Trentodoc, is with us to explain exactly what Trentodoc is. Then we have Andrea Luchetta telling the tale of Bellaveder, a small producer of Trentodoc, and the other wines I got to try. Michele Dolzan from the world-famous Villa De Varda grappa distillery joins us. And to end it all, we have Andrea Paternoster, who is making mead the Trentodoc way. This is just a fraction of what's available to imbibe in Trentino. To find out what else, you would have to read my new Lush Guide to Trentino at alushlifemanual.com. But don't leave us yet, as we head to Mezzacorona.
So where we are, first of all, we are in Trentino. We are quite in one of the northest region, winemaking region in Italy. So it means that we are in something that can be considered a cold climate area, and it's quite different compared to all the other Italian winemaking region. So here, as you can see, we are surrounded by the mountains. And the 90% of our region is not flat, but is above 3,000 feet above the sea level. So the availability of land that can be used for agriculture and for living is quite small. In fact, as you see, most of the surface of the valley, of the flat part of the valley, is cultivated. There are mostly two types of cultivation: is vine and apples. That's actually is why this region is also famous for white wines, red wines, and also for apples. I want to just introduce our trellis system. So this trellis system is quite typical and quite particular, and can be found just here in Trentino and just in few other spots in Italy, most of them based on a mountain region. The reason is simple, is because this trellis system, it allowed you to capture as much sunlight as you can during the day. In fact, as you can see, the valley is orientated from north to south. So the sun rises in the morning very late because we have a mountain here, and also the sun sets very early in the afternoon because we have the mountain in this side. So what the first pioneers that developed the viticulture in this region more than 500 years ago, they decide to make something that actually produce leaves, or I want to sometimes call it photovoltaic panels, because actually the leaves works as a photovoltaic panel. They do not produce electricity, but they produce nutrients, and they produce sugar, they produce the acidity, the minerality, and all the components that are very important, that then are drive into the bunches, into the berries, and then into the wine. So that's the reason why we have this system. This system is also very nice because it keeps the bunches not in direct sun. So for example, in such a variety like aromatic variety, Gewürztraminer, Sauvignon Blanc, but also varieties that are not aromatic like Pinot Grigio, the sun doesn't burn the bunches. So it preserves its minerality, its crispy character, its fresh, fruity, and intensity. So, and this is quite important. And then I want to say the first quality step, the first quality operation that the Trentino conduct is not in the vineyard, it's not in the winery, it's not here or in other facilities, in other small winery you will see, but it's in the fields, because this system is impossible to mechanize. So all the harvest, all the grape has to be hand-picked. What does it mean, hand-picked? It means that every single bunches that is picked, it passed through a couple of human hands and a couple of human eyes. So it means that the member who is here it can decide if throw away, to keep it or throw it away, the bunches. In function of what? In function of our request. Because we are requesting to our members to deliver only health grapes. We don't want grape that has a problem. We don't want grapes. So the first trimming has to be conducted here. So when they pick this one, that will be a future little bunch of Pinot Grigio. Cut it here and they decide, is it suitable for Mezzacorona or not? How we play, how we ask, how can we force them to trim and to select with the payment? If they deliver a health grape, good grape with a nice sugar level, with a nice acidity, they are paid very well. Otherwise, if they deliver crappy grapes, they are very underpaid. So this is the only tools that we have to push the farmers to deliver the grapes that actually we need to produce a wine that can be labeled as a Mezzacorona. It can be sold in the international market under the Mezzacorona brand.
After that explanation, I wanted to know more about Matteo's own role as a winemaker.
The work of the winemaker starts during the harvest season, when you have to select what's the grape that are suitable for a certain project or not, or are suitable for another project. And then you have to select the grape and define all the protocols how to process this grape. Then once you have defined the protocols, you have to follow all the fermentation, so all the process that metabolize the sugar into alcohol and make it convert the juice into a wine. And then you have to follow up to the bottling. So because obviously after the fermentation, you don't just finish your job, but you start another job, another effort, that is the aging. So you have to follow to decide which wine has to go into the barrel, which wine has to go into the stainless steel containers, how many rackings you have to do, how long has to be the racking. There are so many things to do up to the moment of the bottling. When in a company like Mezzacorona or like Rotary, as we are big at a big company, we don't just take one tank and okay, bottle it today. No, we take a big tank and we blend together into this tank so many other small tanks. Because what we have to do is to maintain also a philosophy and a consistency of the philosophy. Sometimes I make an example. When you buy a Nutella, the Nutella in Italy, the Nutella in Australia, United States, United Kingdom is exactly the same. So if you are an American, if you are an English, and you go in Thailand and you want to eat a Nutella, you know exactly that you will buy the same Nutella, you will taste the same Nutella that you taste in Washington or in Philadelphia. And the same it happened for our consumers. They know that they recognize as a Mezzacorona as a benchmark, as a nice wine or a good wine. I like Mezzacorona, and they want every year to feel the same sensation and the same pleasure. That's the big challenge, because obviously we are not working with like the Nutella with the nuts. We are working with something that is coming from the nature and is affected by the season. If you have a good season, you can have a good grape. If you have a bad season, you don't have the perfect grape that you are dreaming. But with the techniques, with the technology, not with the chemistry, with the technology and with the know-how, you can drive the grape into your philosophy. You can drive the fermentation, you can drive all the microbiological process into your philosophy. And then this is to close the circle, is when you decide to make the final assemblage, the final blend that I will go to bottle, is okay, remember all the time why people likes Mezzacorona or likes Rotary. Likes Rotary because it has this characteristic. Okay, you have to pick all the components, and also then small lots. You saw in the winery big containers, but also you saw small containers. These small containers we maintain specific types of Chardonnay that have a specific character. It's like the salt and pepper, when you make a soup. You put all the vegetables together and then you put the aromas. Okay, consider the aroma, the little containers. Because you like every time your soup that has this taste. Okay, you put the potato, you put all the vegetables together, but at the end of the story, you put your pool, your mix of spice. And we do exactly the same. And that is the big game. the big effort and the big job that we do after the harvest is to maintain the philosophy of the company. So, and continue to bond and to link with our customers, because they want to feel the same wine, the same pleasure, the same crispy character, fruity character when they taste a Chardonnay, when they taste a Pinot Grigio, when they taste a red wine or whatever. That's the big. So important is not just to be a skilled winemaker, but it's important is also to understand what's the philosophy and also what is all the feedbacks that are coming from the markets. So take the feedbacks, and then every year decide to make, if it's necessary, a little change in order to accomplish the request of the consumers.
Mezzacorona is a huge facility, and I wanted to discover how a smaller one worked. Lucky for me, Andrea Luchetta was on hand to tell the story of how Bellaveder, his small winery, was founded.
My grandfather bought the house and the first 3 hectares around in the 60s. He was a dentist, so another word. But at the beginning of 2000s, my grandfather and also the farmer who kept the property for a lot of years got ill, and so my father came. He started to follow the vineyard, and then in 2003 he decided to build the winery, so an underground winery. He realized a huge hole, and then replanted the vineyard. So
he started from nothing.
From nothing.
From nothing.
Before we sold the grapes to a social winery, so a bigger one.
How long did you sell the grapes for?
We have sold the grape for 40 years, and then in 2004 we started to produce our wine. So our first label was in 2004.
And why did you decide to do that?
I studied law, but I thought that it wasn't my way, and so both I and my brother decided to come in our familiar company.
So what did you decide to make first?
To make
first for, you have 17 different labels now. So
at first Chardonnay, of course, Chardonnay that becomes also Trentodoc, so sparkling wine, and Pinot Blanc, Sauvignon, and as red varieties, Teroldego and Lagrein.
Of course, I should have asked you this before, but I assume those were the ones that you already were growing and selling on, right? Were those grapes?
All these.
Oh, you had all those.
We are still produce them, and also to sell.
So you decided to do the Chardonnay first, the Trentodoc?
Yeah, because we had, of course,
because you had Chardonnay grapes?
At first as still wine, and from 2006 as Trentodoc, so sparkling wine.
And you were ready, because why don't you tell us about how you produce the Trentodoc?
Trentodoc is a sparkling wine made by the classic method, so Champenoise method, the same of champagne. Because in 20th century, at the beginning of the 20th century, Giulio Ferrari, the founder of Maison Ferrari, went to Champagne and imported the method. That's why in Trentino we produce sparkling wine by the classic method. And we, as young producers, decided to focus on nature. or pas dosé or dosaggio zero. It means that we don't add anything to the wine after the second fermentation. We fill the bottle with the same wine, and so we obtain a dry wine with all 2 grams of sugar residual.
But you also make a Trentodoc rosé and non-natural.
Also rosé and brut, because you have to go on the market, and so you can't know before the taste of the market. But in the years we saw that people prefers dry wines. Maybe in Italy, abroad, they still prefers sweet wine, but in Italy, dry.
So how long was it before you first decided to do Trentodoc to you actually having a bottle that you could sell?
3 years, because we produce only Riserva, so almost 36 months on the yeasts, and so you need about 3 years from the harvest to the bottle.
And when you tasted it for the first time, what did you think? Yes, I have it.
Yeah, of course. As I said, we were between the first that produce Natur. So the first harvest was 2006, and in 2009, during a presentation in a institutional meeting, we were only 4 producers that produce Trentodoc Natur. Now is fashionable, is trendy, and so all produce Natur, and you find Natur also in other zone of classic method, because the people now prefers dry wines.
It's funny, I was going to ask that, how is the demand for the Natur versus the traditional non-Natur?
Brut or demi-sec,
brut, right.
or okay.
Uh-huh.
And we started with 25% of the Gorgeman as Natur, and 75% so as Brut, as normal one. And today these percentage are inverted, and so 75 the Gorge as Natur, and 25 as Brut.
And so tell me about some of the other things, especially that we drank today.
Today we drank as a white wine Müller-Thurgau, so an aromatic white wine invented by a Swiss professor, Herr Müller, in Canton Thurgau. But Müller-Thurgau found its ideal habitat in Trentino. And so is a variety that is very diffused in Trentino.
Mm-hmm. And how about the other ones?
And the other ones, as red wine, Teroldego. Teroldego grows only in Trentino, so a local red variety. And it gives a wine rich of color and structure.
How about Vino Santo, which, is one of the typical Trentino wines? Do you make that as well?
Not, because my father comes from Valle dei Laghi, so the zone where Nosiola grows. Nosiola is the white variety with which you make Vino Santo, and he always says that he saw 2 Nosiola when he was young, and so he preferred to produce a sweet wine with Gewürztraminer, so aromatic white wine also.
Well, should we go try some of that? I haven't had it yet.
At the end with the dessert.
Okay, fantastic.
We tried some of his pasito and it was yummy. Now that the meal was ending, I couldn't help but want to have a glass of grappa, one of the other spirits Trentino is known for. We headed straight to Villa De Varda Distillery, one of the oldest in Italy. Michele Dolzan, whose family's been making grappa for centuries, joined me for a chat to go along with that grappa.
My family started 5 generations ago to produce grappa. We are one of the oldest family distillery in Italy. We produce very niche grappa with a very small quantity. We distill 6 times the grappa. For this, our grappa is very authentic, very aromatic, very clean, clear. We distill the very fresh pomace of the best grape from Trentino region. And with the special method, we drink and taste a very clean and elegant grappa.
What are the grapes? You said local grapes, so which do you do?
Yeah, we buy the skin grape from the best winery in Trentino region, a very juicy grape. The winery don't press too much the grape, and we distill immediately the pomace. Exception from Amarone, Brunello and Barolo grappa, we buy the skin grape from 3 important winery in other region, and we distill with our special method.
And because we're here in Trentino, what are the local grapes that you use for the local grappa?
Sure. The local grape are Moscato, Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay, and in our village, Mezzacorona, we produce a wonderful grape called Teroldego. It's a red grape, very fruity, you taste the berry fruit, and the grappa is the flag of Trentino grappa because it's very clean, elegant. When I drink the Teroldego grappa, I smell the mountain, the Dolomite. It's very fresh.
That's very romantic.
Exactly.
And do you make anything other than grappa here?
Yeah, our focus is in the aged grappa. We age the grappa 5 years in the special French oak cask. We use the cask only one time. For this, the wood characteristic is very soft and elegant in the spirit, in the grappa. And we produce a very good line of liquors, for example, blueberry, green apple, elderflower. We leave the fruits and the flower in the grappa for 4 months, and we add 8% around of sugar, and it's a wonderful drink for the best cocktail or also a shot after a good dinner, or in the top of panna cotta in the Italian dessert. You can add our fruit liquor, very good and good tasty.
Now, you also served an Amaro. So can you tell me a little bit about the Amaro?
Yeah, the Amaro is a very old liquor. It's very from Italy. It's very good for the best digestion. After a good dinner, you drink the San Vigilio Villa De Varda Amaro. It's completely natural. We pick up the herbs in the mountain, 1,000 meter height in the mountain. We pick up the herbs with our hand, and we leave for 5 months the herbs in the alcohol. We have a special license from the police of the forest. They give me the permits where pick up the herbs. For example, one type of herbs in this mountain for don't stress too much the mountain. And we leave the herbs in the alcohol, and will be a fantastic drink. You put in the freezer with a lot cube, a skin of orange. It's a wonderful cocktail.
Now, you talked about license, but you have a special license for making grappa. And can you tell everyone what is the number of your license?
Exactly. We have, in each country in the world, the state give a special license for produce spirit. And we have very old license with the number 17.
And how many are there now? If you wanted to apply now, what number would that be?
It's very, for this you understand the old tradition. It's very old tradition in my family. From 5 generations we have the license, this license 17, and it's very old. And from this you understand our long activity and experience in the grappa production.
Wait, and you were saying that if you tried to get a license now, what number would it be?
Yeah, I don't know, probably 8,000.
Right. But you were number 17.
It's very difficult to receive now a new license, probably, because it's very small and niche market in the spirit world, the grappa production.
So should we go try some now?
Yeah, sure. You are very welcome. You are welcome to taste our special grappa with me and with your group.
Last but certainly not least, and most surprising, was meeting Andrea Paternoster, whose honey is world-renowned. Little did I know he made mead as well. And how? Well, in the same method as local favorite Trentodoc.
The mead in general is one of the most ancient alcoholic drink, fermented drink in the world, in the planet. And we try to give our personal interpretation of this drink. And we live in a geographic area, where is very important, the sparkly wine, dry sparkly wine, called Trentodoc, and we try we find a sort of inspiration in this, and we make a double fermentation with honey. The second fermentation is in the bottle. We use two different kind of honey. In the first fermentation, 30% of wildflower, very delicate, that our bees collect in the high mountain, the Dolomites. And in the second fermentation, the fermentation in the bottle, we use only few quantity, about 3%, of other honey, very aromatic, very complex, very rich in aroma and in the smell. And this honey is important because give an boost in the taste of the drink. The second fermentation ended in the October of 2017. Then this drink, this mead, stay 15 months on the yeast. After this period, we take out the yeast, the gorgement, or sboccatura, Italiano, and is ready right now for the market. It's only few quantity. For us is a sort of joke, but I'm very proud because this drink is totally coherent with our idea of the honey. Honey is a noble ingredient. You can use the honey all day in different moment of the day in your traditional kitchen, or in the kitchen exotic, or in the family or gastronomic. And the honey could be the right boost for every dish, with the salty dish and the sweet. It's a very noble product and very healthy. Who use the honey in their alimentation, help the beekeeper and help the bees. In this way can improve the biodiversity in our poor planet.
Thanks so much to Matteo, Andrea, Michele, and Andrea for joining me on Lush Life. It was an incredible trip to Trentino, and I highly recommend it. As I said earlier, you can see photos of all these gentlemen and read a bit more about them and the spirits they make in my Lush Guide to Trentino at alushlifemanual.com. But right now, it's time for our cocktail of the week. Our cocktail of the week is not really a cocktail recipe,
but a syrup recipe, and a syrup which can be used in loads of cocktails. On the aforementioned jaunt through Trentino, we met Nonna Ponomarenko at the Agriturismo Mazzo Flancarai, where she showed us how to make an amazingly aromatic yet subtle rose syrup to add to Chardonnay. At least that's what she added it to, and it was incredible. We picked her roses to make it, but please buy culinary grade roses. Do not use the ones you get at the florist. Then you only need 1 cup water, 1 cup sugar, 1 lemon, and 2 cups of fresh rose petals. Place the rose petals in a bowl, and then squeeze the juice of a lemon all over them and scrunch the liquid with the petals. Place the water and sugar in a saucepan and bring to a boil. Stir it to dissolve the sugar. Then add in the rose petals and cook for about 10 minutes. Strain it into glass jars, removing the petals from the liquid. Then turn the glass jars upside down and store for a few days. When it's ready, add it to Chardonnay or Prosecco or anything you want. You'll find this recipe plus a video of Nonna making it and all the cocktails of the week at lushlifemanual.com, where you'll also find all the ingredients in our shop. It's that time of year when Lush Life takes a break and regroups with a mojito in hand. Don't be sad, because in September, we'll be back to revisit Alessandro Palazzi from Duke's Bar, have an old-fashioned with Jenna Ba, the Bullet Bourbon brand ambassador, and toast to Eddie Brooke of Cape Byron Distillery, and so much more. Plus, we'll be bringing you a huge announcement, but you'll have to wait for it. Until next time, bottoms up and have a great summer. Thanks for listening to the Lush Life Podcast. For more information and links to everything you've heard, plus a whole lot more, please visit lushlifemanual.com. Always remember the wise words of Oscar Wilde. All things in moderation, including moderation. And always drink responsibly. Okay, I said that last part. Theme music is by Steven Shapiro and used with permission. Lush Life is produced by Evo Terra. And I'm your drinking partner, Susan Schwartz. I'll see you at the bar.